Dr. Ajay sir, shall we start?
Yes, yes.
Start. Recorded. Good afternoon to one and all. Welcome to the afternoon session of the FDP, sponsored by AICTE, organized by the Oxford College of Engineering, Department of Biotechnology. Today, our guest speaker for this session is Dr. Ajay Damodaran Pillai. Sir holds the M.Pharma from Gujarat University in pharmaceutical chemistry. He holds a PhD from Bhavnagar University in Gujarat in chemistry. He served as a senior research investigator in medicinal chemistry division, GVK Bioinformatics, Hyderabad. Sir also worked as assistant professor, Department of Pharmaceutical Chemistry in Ramaya College of Pharmacy. He worked as a postdoctoral fellow in National Institute of Health, USA. Sir currently holds the post of Scientist Dean, Head Project Management Cell, NCCS, Pune. His areas of interest includes research administration, grants management, research ethics, licensing and IP, malaria medicinal chemistry and biochemistry. Sir holds a US patent and he also has around 21 international papers published in the various journals which includes molecular pharmacology, molecular microbiology, biomembranes, PRC, bioorganic medicinal chemistry, International Journal of Parasitology, European Journal of Medicinal Chemistry, Indian Journal of Heterocyclic Chemistry. He has attended over 20 national and international conferences. Sir, on behalf of staff, students, and management of the Oxford College of Engineering, I, Salma, at the Department of Biotechnology, take it a privilege to welcome you for today's session, sir. Sir, it is over to you to start with the session.
Okay, thank you so much. I hope you can listen to me.
Yes, sir, we are able to.
Okay. So if this is getting recorded, if this is getting recorded, please
Yes, sir.
yes, okay. Please be advised that these slides can be used for research purposes. This is copyright protected, but you can use the contents for research purposes. With that said, thank you for the AICTE for giving me an opportunity to discuss this important topic about challenges in IP licensing, especially in academic institutions. This is a very relevant topic and it is timely. Now let's quickly go through one or two slides. Although I only have like 13 or 14 slides. And I'll see how fast I can cover, and I like to take more questions from your side. So when you talk about protection of intellectual properties, I mean intellectual property is something which is from your intellect. I mean, if you're a scientist, you develop the knowledge base, which is your intellectual property. So if and there are different types of intellectual properties. You can protect lyrics of a movie song. You can copyright and protect it. I mean, if it is a logo of say a company or logo of a product, you can trademark and protect it. If it's let's assume that you know how to make a pizza, I can keep it as a trade secret and protect the pizza making. But in research organizations, mostly the kind of intellectual property which is generated is in the form of patents. Because it is knowledge base from biotechnology or any other disciplines. So if you need a quick definition of patents, patents are nothing but it's an exclusive territorial right granted for a limited period of time to the inventor. So that itself says that this is a right which is given to the inventor, who created the knowledge, and it is exclusively given to him within a territory. For example, if I patent my invention in India, the India is a territory. If I patent my invention in US is a territory. in which it is granted. And it is generally granted for a limited period of time. Say 20 years is the time period which is given for protection. I think you can listen to me clearly, right?
Yes, sir, we can hear you clearly.
Okay, fine. Generally, if you see, the patents can be classified broadly into utility patents, plant patents, and design patents. The name itself implies that utility, most of the inventions from a biotech, institution will be utility patents. If it is a plant patent, if any new varieties which are, generated using asexual reproduction falls in the plant patents. And designs are, any design of a car or a design of a instrument can be patented for its design. Whatever the patent is, novelty, usefulness, and non-obviousness are the three criteria which are used for evaluating patents and the grant of patents. Novelty, mostly all of us know that it should be original and it should be unique, it should be novel, it should be industrially applicable, or it should be useful for the industry and the public. Non-obviousness is it should not be obvious that anybody can do this. For example, if let's assume that you have 6 microorganisms which are A, B, C, D, E, and F, and if I have a drug which is,
Excuse me.
yes,
So your slides are not moving, sir.
it's not moving.
No, sir.
Can you see it now?
No, sir, your presentation is in the PPT mode. It has to be put on the presentation mode.
Give me a minute. Can you see it now?
No, sir.
Can you see it now?
Sir, it is in the normal mode. It is not on presentation. So it is clear, but if you can try to move your slides here only, I think we can continue with this.
Okay. I'm trying to see whether I can move it to the presentation mode. So it is presentation mode, it says. Okay, fine. As long as you can see that.
Sir, you can please use percentage. It is what is your, so you can increase it with the slide. We can see.
Okay, that's all I can do from here.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So when you look about the patents which we were talking about, it is generally granted for its novelty, usefulness, and non-obviousness. And I told you that when you talk about non-obviousness, when you have like 6 microorganisms which are falling on the same class, and assume that I have a drug which I have discovered which is going to kill 3 microorganisms A, B, and C, and I apply for a patent is granted. Then I cannot apply another patent for the same drug, saying that it will also kill D, E, and F. It's obvious that if it kills A, B, and C, it should kill D, E, and F, because all of that microorganisms fall in the same class. So that is what I call, it should not be obvious to the patent examiner that your utility, can be reproduced if somebody has the skilled art. So it should be non-obvious. The invention should be non-obvious. Now, when we talk about the challenges in academia settings, I hope you can see the next slide when I move the slide.
No, sir, that is a problem. We are still in the first slide only. You can see the first slide.
Okay, give me a minute. Let me just. Can you see it now?
No, sir, your cursor is not moving to the other slides.
I'm sorry. Let me just see whether I can. I don't know. The morning there was a talk. There was no problem. I really don't.
Sir, can you stop sharing and once again try sharing, sir? Or what you can do is you can before stop sharing, and you can put your PPT in slideshow first and then share your screen, sir. Some of our students also had this problem. So first you put your PPT in slideshow, and then you share the screen, sir. So directly the slideshow thing will get shared off.
Okay, so I have put it in the slideshow. Now I'm going.
Now you try sharing, sir.
Okay, fine. Give me a minute. Screen share. Screen 2. Share.
Yes, sir. Now it's fine.
Is it visible?
Yes, sir. It is in the second slide.
Okay. Can you see the first slide? Can you see the first slide?
Yes, sir. Please continue.
Is it moving?
Yes, sir. It's moving.
Okay. This is the third slide. You can see that, right?
Protection of intellectual. Yeah, third slide we can see, sir. Patents. Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Okay. So
thank you, sir.
Thank you for resolving that. So when we talk about patents and the way it is going to get evaluated, I told that novelty, usefulness, and non-obviousness is the 3 criteria where the patents are getting evaluated. But all organizations have patents. I mean, there are very few organizations which do not patent. But the challenges in basically in the academic setting, the challenges which we face in licensing the patent out or taking the patents forward are many. So what are the challenges in academic setting? Generally, what I have seen is that, when scientists write project proposals for, funding, or when the organization funds the research project, the science should, after all, be useful for the society. And the proposals which we write, whether it is in biotechnology or engineering or any other field, the faculty should keep in mind that at the end of the day, the knowledge base which is created is going to be useful for the society. You really cannot do scientific research just for the sake of doing some research in a laboratory and publish papers. It has to have some utility at the end of the day. With that said, there are a lot of other challenges which academic organizations face. We should be aware that great science leads to good patents. You really cannot get anything filed for a patent and get the patent granted, because it is very closely correlated with the quality of science which an organization does. And you have to be aware about the patents and processes. The organization or the leadership should train the faculties and make awareness in them about the patents and processes. You have to have policies and procedures which are set in the organization. And there should be some incentive which should get for the PI if you patent your inventions. The high-end facilities should be there, and there should not be any kind of a bureaucracy where you have to be very fair with all the scientists when it comes to inventions and patents, because it is a organizational property. It doesn't belong to PI. To a large extent, all of these challenges can be mitigated when you have a project cell or a research development office in the campus or in the organization, which actually coordinates and facilitates all of this for the PIs. A PI or a scientist cannot themselves do all of this, because it takes a lot of time and effort and administration in filing and drafting patents and maintaining the patents and coordinating with the patent offices, whether it is in India or US or any other patent offices. So that's a big challenge which organizations face, and we have to help the scientists to go through this process. And once they gain confidence, then you tend to file high quality patents. Otherwise, what will happen is that they just think that, no, let's just sit in the comfort zone. Patent is not for me. Let me do some just mediocre science and publish some papers and forget about all of this, because it is not my cup of tea. I cannot go and run behind these administrative processes anymore. So the first question which we have to encourage organizations to ask is that, once they have, they know that there are challenges, which is definitely there, as we discussed here, they have to identify and organize the challenges. Hope you can see the slide.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So the green circles are where, mostly organizations don't have a problem. They create knowledge, they go to conferences, they outreach to organizations, they attend symposia, they do the public engagement. They have the right mindset that they all want to improve and they want to protect the IP generated. But the red circles are the problem circles. The problems or concerns are that they have to have a dedicated team of people who can push the technologies forward, especially in engineering institutions. You have to have a technology cell which comprises of experts in who has really pushed the technologies or transferred technologies from an academic organization to an industrial setup, or people from industry who can advise on a timely basis. And there are other people who are investors who are actually going to invest on the inventions on organization. So you have to engage with these investors, engage with other technologists, and understand the market, because all patents are not going to fetch you money. Please understand that out of 4,000 patents, 1 or 2 patents are the ones which are going to click for an industry, because that are the ones which has real market potential. And you have to understand your market. You have to see who are the customers who are going to buy your technology. So just developing a technology is only one part, but understanding the customers and market is a very important thing, which you cannot do yourself. You have to have a team of people who are going to do this for you, which we call them as a technology transfer unit. But nevertheless, I mean, if you have the knowledge which is created, which I will again and again stress that great science is the one which is going to push the patents. I always say, and I will say it in all the slides, that it's a great science which leads to good patents. It's only a byproduct of the good quality science. Innovations should enhance fundamental understanding of science, but in the bar, I mean, this seesaw, the knowledge base and the high quality science is what is going to give you invention. And on the right side, if you really want to push these inventions to innovations and patents, you really have to start with high quality science and wait for the patents to come out. Most of the research organizations, have a primary mandate of undertaking high quality research, and generally great inventions might be a chance phenomena. For example, penicillins were discovered like that. Or it can be a necessity. For example, COVID, there is a necessity that you have to invent something. If my perception is to enhance the mobility of handicapped people, I will say that it should lead to the invention of a wheelchair. That actually is a perception based invention. Or it can be based on a demand. For example, if you do not have a parking space for cars, which actually led to the invention of smart cars, where very less space is required to park the car. That kind of inventions come from the demand. So inventions can come from any type of any category of inventions, but ultimately I believe that it's a great quality of science which leads to good patents. And you really cannot tell an organization to generate patents every month unless you do high quality science. There are several advantages and disadvantages here. From an organizational perspective, advantages are many. I mean, if let's assume that Oxford Engineering College is going to patent out or license out a patent for 50 lakhs. I mean, it is definitely going to push Oxford Engineering College to a different level. I mean, the brand name, the reputation is going to get changed. It is going to increase or improve the research integrity. You get to liaise or interplay with commercial scientists from industries with whom you can discuss and improve your science. It's definitely going to attract more human resource to Oxford Engineering College, because they know that it's a high quality science which leads to good patents, and Oxford Engineering College is doing well. So there are many advantages for an organization if you have good patents which you can license out. And definitely it is a revenue generation. In the long run, I mean, if you have a lot of patents and a lot of revenue, to some extent you can sustain your activities. But disadvantages are, it is the scientists who basically spend time on creating this knowledge base for inventions, and it should not happen that they drift away from their general mandate of science, because every organization has a set mandate of research. That should not drift away from their research, routine research, and focus on the the incentive and how much money I can get out of this financial year. So let me not publish this research. I will just protect my data. I will not show to anyone. I will just wait for the patent to get granted. So that should not happen. Not that everyone do, but there are tendencies or there are chances or probabilities that they can drift away from science. So having said that, the prime thing which an organization should definitely do to push their inventions or knowledge base to patents is understand what are the hallmarks for generation of a patent portfolio or an IP portfolio. One of the three hallmarks for generation of a IP portfolio is the culture, the awareness, and the process. So when you talk about the culture, it should be naturally evolved. You cannot force a faculty that, please get me a patent within 1 year. That's not possible, or that is not genuine or ethical. I mean, it should be naturally evolved. Again, I will stress on the high quality of science. That is the one which is going to help you naturally get a high quality patent out of your science. And you should train your faculties, just like this particular talk, where you're creating awareness about patents. There should be continuous awareness in the PIs as to what a patent is, where you can file the patent, how much cost organization should put in a patent, how much time will it take for a patent to get granted, and once a patent is granted, what will the scientist do with the patent. Such kind of awareness should be there in the in the organization. And then we have to have fair and transparent processes in organization, where you have to give equal chance for all the scientists to compete and do high quality science, so that they get patents out of their knowledge base. So it all starts with processes. Once you have the processes in place, that creates awareness, and once you are aware about the processes, that creates a culture. And then you basically say that in our organization we have a culture to file patents. So where did the culture come from? It comes from the processes and the awarenesses. Now, having said that, it's a win-win situation for both the organization and the industry if you have good patents. And if you have to have a win-win situations, you have to have checks and balances in place. So for an organization, or for any organization, I think that there are 3 units which are very important for pushing your inventions forward. One is the grant cell, one is the IPR cell, one is a technology transfer cell. I mean, you have to give serious thought about setting up, all these cells in your organization. Grant cell mostly talks about, or helps the scientist in, pre-award and post-award management of extramural funding, whether it is from DBT or DST or CSA or ICMR, wherever it comes from. The grant cell is the one which is going to help the PIs to make them aware about, what are the IP policies with respect to funding agencies. How can I support a scientist by giving pre-award and post-award support? And then comes the IPR cell, which actually talks about prosecution of IP, means filing a patent, drafting your patent application, filing the patent application, or negotiation of the patent application with the patent officers, a review of examinations. Any office action notes which comes from patent office, the IPR office has to deal with, because there's a lot of time and effort which goes behind this, and PIs cannot handle it by themselves because they are focused on their science. So the organization should have these administrative facilities available, so that the scientists focus on high quality science, and whatever output comes should be dealt in a different mechanism by the organization. And after all, once you have the grant cell and IPR cell working together, you then set up a technology transfer cell, which comprises of experts who have transfer technologies for academic organizations, or experts from industries who can basically advise on the core concepts of technology transfer for the organization. So this is very, very important for any organization. Otherwise, we may not end up in utilizing the patents to the fullest extent. Organization might have 100 patents. The scientists might fill their biodatas and CVs with the patents which they have filed. But at the end of 2 or 3 years, the institution should have spent 50 lakhs in filing and maintaining the patents, but nothing has come out of it. And that should not be a situation. You have to look for a win-win situation when you talk about filing patents. Having said that, since Oxford is an engineering college, I'm very sure that when you talk about technology readiness level of technologies which you come across, technologies 1 to 3 are ones which you generally develop in the laboratory, right? So it's basically research and invention. But when you talk about the technologies 4 and beyond, we are slowly moving to the proof of application and proof of relevance from a proof of concept. Proof of concept is something a laboratory can do, but proof of application, proof of relevance definitely require collaborations with industries and private bodies, because scientists cannot do themselves. And that is where most of the organizations fail, because they don't know how to mitigate, they don't know how to collaborate with industries and other partners. Because we are talking about pushing a discovery or a knowledge base to a innovation, which is the final end point of a knowledge base when you talk about patent licensing. And the reason why organizations fail is because there is a value of death. On the left side, when institutions create knowledge, solutions, and ideas, on the right side, it is the application which is important to the markets. And organizations, research organizations, or the scientists does not have a clear idea about what is the far-fetching application or the market potential of their knowledge base. They are more focused on writing proposals and creating knowledge. But at that stage itself, early on itself, they have to start discussing with industries and bring the industry participants on board and see whether their research has potential or not. Otherwise, this value of death, you cannot mitigate it. because it requires assets, resources, and core competencies. I have put here 4 things on the bottom: high-end facilities, top-notch faculty pool, timely delivery, and financial resources. If you cannot, meet these, assets or resources, you may not be able to get out of this valley of death. And many of the organizations face this because the patents are there, but it doesn't get pushed after this valley of death, and it just dies within this valley. It never see any light afterwards. So I'm proposing 3 models. I mean, this is which I propose to all the organizations, that they have to have either one of these 3 models, which I'm going to discuss, to mitigate this to some extent. What is model 1? Model 1 is when a scientist basically gets a grant from extramural funding, use the institutional facilities and develop a proof of concept. And he discusses with IPR expert, which you can have as an expert consultant for your organization, and files a provisional application. Once you file a provisional application, you have 12 months period for filing a complete application. In this 12 months, the PI has to give all the time and effort to add additional data and make the patent as strong as possible, so that once you file a complete application, when the leadership approves or your director approves that you can go ahead and file a complete application, the potential for that application to get utilized forward increases. If you don't discuss with any expert and just you file the application, it will not see the light of the day. So this 12 month is a very critical period, because many times I have observed that once you file the application, the PhD student leaves, or the PI himself or herself leave the institution. How are you going to basically add any additional data in this 12 months to make the application strong? So you basically lost the money which you utilized to file the application. The PI left or the student left. There is nobody to do the experiments, and then the patent just dies there, right? Another model should be, let's assume that the PI again competes for extramural funding. But here the PI is very clever that, early on, he discusses with the mentors, the IPR experts, the institutional review committee, and early on, tries to get their inputs in the creation of knowledge. So there the PI basically refines a knowledge base with the help of the experts, and then goes ahead and files a strong IP. So here a lot of experiments has been done, and at the time of filing the provisional applications, you're almost pretty much done. So here you can take the help of technology transfer officers. You can publicize the patents, you can invite the investors, because this 12 months period, you really don't have to worry, because you have all the data which is required. You have all done the exercise before, and then you file a complete application, the licensing probability is more. So this is model number 2. And there are some organizations which go for a model number 3, where the projects are written because they want to develop a technology. It is technology driven projects, right? So there you discuss with the IPR experts, mentors, and institutional review committee, apply for an extramural grant only to develop the proof of concept, which is like BIRAC or PACE programs, where you already rope in the industrial partner much ahead. And then you go and file a strong provisional IP, and the application cost and the maintenance cost of these applications can also be shared by the industry, because industries are already roped in at a much earlier stage before before it actually comes to filing an IP application. So these are generally the 3 models which I propose for an organization to license out the IP and reduce the challenges which they face. There is one thing which organizations should take upper hand to do, which is dealing with the alumni of the organization. There are a lot of things alumnus can do. They can act as facilitators. So they can actually mentor our students. They might have passed out from Oxford Engineering College 30 years back, and they might be leading as vice presidents or business global leaders somewhere. I mean, why don't we invite them to advise us as to how to take our inventions forward? They might help us raise fund to support the students who might have interest in developing a startup company or can have an entrepreneurial mind. They can be invited as members to entrepreneurship cells in the academia. So these are very important criteria which an organization should think as to how we can help the organization to push their inventions forward. And with that said, Definitely there should be sessions where you're going to brainstorm within the organizations. The faculties should sit and brainstorm as to, can we start industrial internship programs for students, can we invite visiting professors who were alumnus for our organization, can we have academy industrial meets, can we evaluate the projects based on the commercial or technical feasibility, rather than writing some projects and getting some 20-30 lakhs funds, can we just start writing a project thinking about the technical feasibility or a technology innovation as one of the objective of the proposal. With having said that, I think we are improving every day. See, we are slowly, we have started to unfreeze our old behaviors. The faculties are coming forward and asking the leadership that I need leadership skill training, I need management training. They are ready to take pressures. They are respecting the public-private partnerships now, unlike in previous years. And they are not just doing research for awards and recognitions, because they are very much aware that patents are important and that is going to push the organization forward. They are for intramural collaborations within the organizations. We have seen that there are PIs who are collaborating and publishing together, so they are aware about the pursuit of science for knowledge. So we are improving every day, and we know that that is the way to push your innovations forward. So I think in a nutshell, if you ask me what are the challenges and what are the mitigation plans from an academic perspective, I'll say that great science, again, I'll come back and tell that it's a great science which will lead to natural evolution of good patents. And you have to have clear policies and processes. That's a right culture which you are going to set up. Early discussions are going to lead to generation of strong IP portfolio. And the strong IP portfolio is what leads to a successful licensing deals. And establishing tech offices in your organization, or at least trying to collaborate with tech offices. I mean, that's a way forward. That's definitely going to enhance useful utilization of a strong IP portfolio. So I think that I just finished my slides now. It was just 16 or 17 slides as I discussed. I will be more than happy to take questions from you rather than lecturing from this side. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Participants, if you have any queries, questions, please unmute yourself or please post it in the chat box.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I was interested because we were talking about the not only the filing the patent, but next level for the company and commercializing and making the proof of concept. So there we are looking. Hello.
Yes, I can hear you. Continue. Please continue.
So actually, there only we are lagging where proof of what you told exactly it is correct actually, because we will innovate, we will device development up to the proof of concept and the prototype. This I want to understand that what we are developing, that is the prototype, and the proof of concept who will do, like next step we have developed.
So you basically, the way we do here is that proof of concepts also is difficult for us as scientists to develop in the lab, because laboratory, there is a issue with the resources available setup. So generally in biotechnology research, you write grants to BIRAC, a big program, which is a biotechnology ignition grant, which actually is set up for developing, right? There, one of the mandatory, one of the thing which is highly desirable is you have to bring in an industry right from where you have a invention, and can they scale it up? Can they basically do a proof of your concept is yours, you have proved the concept in a laboratory setup, but you have not scaled up. We don't know whether that is going to work when you scale up. So that concept is validated by an industry in an industrial setting. So bring the industry, and it is in the industry who is going to do the proof of concept and scale up an industrial scale. we cannot really do it at an academic scale. It is not the job of a scientist, or well, I'm not saying that all scientists doesn't. I mean, there are some scientists who can do it, yeah, provided they have the setting within the academic organization. But generally, the industry has to do it.
So, sir, what I observed that once I got a fund from ICMR and I developed a device, and I saw in BIRAC one advertisement was there. In that advertisement, it was written that it is for the proof of concept. Means fund was given for proof of concept. So my question is, one funding agency gave the fund, that also Government of India. So that what we develop, can we take the that BIRAC fund for the proof of concept? I have not
Yes,
applied because I thought I don't know whether I will be eligible or not. So I
no. So
have
we have grants. We have BIRAC grants where we are actually, we have like 30-40 lakhs which we are using for the proof of concept. We have
okay.
for proof of
Can we
concept.
write to you? Can we write to you if we have the developed prototype?
So we are mostly, we are not an engineering institute. We are a biotechnology,
Yes, is there.
right? So I will not be able to help you from engineering. I think what you have to do is, when you write for a BIRAC project, when you are asking money for proof of concept, even though BIRAC does make it mandatory to add an industry, I will always suggest that scientists, when applying for a proof of concept grant to BIRAC, must include an industry, because that is going to help you.
Industry is not a problem. Industry
Now,
will be there.
excuse me, sir. To
Yes,
add into this, there is a scheme in the BIRAC where you need not to have industry collaboration.
correct.
It's called PEACE. So
Yes,
we have that. Rita madam, my project under BIRAC financial assistance is exclusively for academic institution. If you have a industry partner, it's okay. Otherwise, also you can apply it
yes,
for the PEACE scheme. Then you can develop the proof of concept, and you can file the patent, and you can commercialize your product.
yes.
So this ICMR project, the device, I can
For
go for.
commercialization, you can apply. For
So BIRAC,
commercialization, in collaboration with ICMR only, you have to apply.
so BIRAC, I don't know whether you have visited BIRAC website. If you, BIRAC itself has a team who is going to facilitate the filing of patents and commercialization. Uh, we have a project with IIT, BIRAC funded project with IIT Indore and some industry. So anything which is going out of that patent, which will be filed as a joint invention, and the funds are going to be given by BIRAC. Organizations don't have to actually use funds for filing the patent. BIRAC will help us file the patent. BIRAC will help us maintain the patent, prosecution of the patent, and BIRAC will help us to find an industry partner. Already industry partner in the project. If we need more industrial partners, they are ready, they are able to get added to the project, and BIRAC will help us to facilitate discussions with the industries, and what is going to come out of this invention, if it is going to be sold out to an industry at a later point, if is there any royalty which is going to come out, how are the industry get benefit out of this. BIRAC has a clear policy on this.
Okay.
Even you can approach NRDC also. Last sessions we had, no? Dr. Sahu was there and Dr. Lakshmi Narayan was there. You can approach them. They will help you in finding out the appropriate industry collaboration for your invention.
Sir, we have a question from one of the participants. Sir, what is the percentage share of the inventor if the patent is filed through organization?
See, organizations, any inventions which you do in the premises of the organization, it is completely assigned to the organization. Nothing is assigned to the PI. PI is going to be just an inventor. Okay. Having said that, Department of Biotechnology has clear policies on IP licensing as to how much share will a PI get out of their patents if getting licensed out. It's generally 50% to the organization, 35% to the PI, 10% to the staff welfare, 5% for the remaining staffs. So there are clear policies as to how much. So if Oxford Engineering College is to going to license out a patent for 50 lakhs, assuming, okay, out of 50 lakhs, 25 lakhs will go to the organization, 35% will go to the PI. I'm just giving some round figures just for discussion's sake. Licensing is not that easy, and getting money is also not that easy, especially biotech is a complex field, one should be 101% confident on your knowledge base, that you don't feel on that, you don't fall on that valley of death. Because remember, no industry is going to be ready to invest money unless they are 110% confident about your invention. So your quality of science is what should speak at that point of time. Your claims in the patent is what is going to speak at that point of time. So because remember, if you are sitting in the industry, and if you are going to go to an academic organization and telling them that I'm ready to take your patent and here 50 lakhs from my pocket, do you think that you are going to put 50 lakhs? Because it's a big risk which is going to be involved there. Remember, we are sitting in an academic organization. All the scientists will say that my inventions are like world class. No scientist will say that my inventions are inferior, right? Because we are all egoistic. We never leave. We say that our inventions are the best. And remember, from an industry side, they are going to take that risk and work for and convert this knowledge base into patentable products. And can you imagine the risk which is involved? And that is the risk for which they are giving us money. So there is a very, very hidden factor here which we should understand, and we should be ready to engage with industries, respect their expertise, and take it forward. That's why I told you that in all those three models, I was talking again and again about the quality of science.
Sir, is there any agency which can evaluate commercial viability of our patented innovation?
So there are technology transfer offices which are set up by BIRAC. There are 6 or 7 across India. One is in Pune, which is working with the NCL Venture Center. So technology transfer offices are government-aided mechanism. We use it, and the biggest advantage for us is that we should not be worried about audit, because we are using a government-aided mechanism. It is not private-aided mechanism, right? And I also heard that DBT itself is going to come up with their own technology offices very, very shortly. So I think that we are in the right direction.
Do we have to pay anything to evaluate our commercial viability of our innovation?
Yes. So these technology offices are set up in project mode. So they also have to see if their sustainability forward. So definitely they will take some charges for evaluating your IP, to making the licensing agreement, negotiating your licensing agreement. If you go to NCL Venture website, and if you type TechX in TECHEX.in, you can get all the charges. All the charges are listed there. They have like 60 or 70 services, out of which one of the services is actually evaluation of patents.
Approximate cost of it, sir, for one innovation?
So I think that it starts from 20,000 onwards, 15,000 to 20,000 onwards. But then it all depends on, you have to go with an employee first, and there I think you can negotiate. But they have very clear-cut guidelines. They have some reductions for academic organizations also.
Sir, can you repeat that site, this thing, sir, once again?
It's called NCL. NCL is National Chemical Laboratory, Pune. NCL Venture, VENTURE, Venture Cell. So if you put NCL Venture and TechX in, you will get into their website.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for coming over to us and helping us in understanding the concept behind the technology transfer and commercialization of patents in biotechnology. And
Sure.
I
Thank you so
forward
much.
to Salma Madam to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, sir. On behalf of the staff, student and management of the Oxford College of Engineering, I, Salma, take this a privilege to thank Dr. Ajay Damodar Pillai for having graced this FDP and accepting our invite amidst his busy schedule to speak a few words and also to enlighten our participants regarding the commercialization aspect of IPR. So thank you from our side. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye, sir.